Wow. In this very special edition of Soulful Conversations, I am here at Manly Beach with the legend, Tom Carroll.
Hey, Ash.
How you going, bro?
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. I've been in the ocean. That helps. Yeah.
So there's a surf comp going on here. What's the deal here?
It's really cool. This is I've been involved with Surf Aid International. It delivers aid to it started off in the Mentawai Islands in Indonesia by Dr. Dave Jenkins back in the 90s, and he saw a need. He went surfing there with a whole bunch of buddies. He went on the islands and had a look at the local people and met a few and saw how they were living, and they saw they had some basic health issues that were shortening their lives, and also especially immortality. Mortality rates were high, I should say, and it was just needed to do a couple of basic changes, and that was malaria, reduce malaria with mosquito nets, change the way they cook their food, not cooking it inside with a fire, so they weren't getting gassed out by all the smoke, which was giving them respiratory diseases, and also getting more nutrition through, like planting vegetables, learning how to actually build gardens and so on. So they were just very, very minimal living, and now that's all changed. But he started off Surf Aid International. It's been going for a long time now. Can't remember what year they're in now, but I think 20th year maybe, or something like that. So I've been involved with them pretty much the whole way, and we do an event each year called the Corporate Cup. It's where it's called the Corporate Surfing Cup, the Surf Aid Corporate Surfing Cup, and they get to all the corporates come down as teams and surf a tag team event, sort of different than normal surfing events, which are more individual. You get a team together, you surf as a team, and that team, I turn up as one of the pros, and they bid for you at the beginning of the day to get you on the team, and they throw their money down. And so today they've raised, to this moment, I don't know what, there's an update, $182,000 just to the day.
Oh my God!
And 85% of that money goes to the people in Indonesia, to the programs run and directed by Surf Aid International, but actually run by the Indonesians. So it's a model was picked up by the UN and used in various. Now it's used because it's more of a leg up sort of. It's not giving to. It's not just handing out. It's legging up and helping people up. And to help themselves. So incredibly successful program. It still carries out today. And as surfers, we just go up to these beautiful places in paradise on boats, on land camps. Take it for granted it's all there. Everyone's all healthy and everything's good. But on the backside of it, they just need all this help. And then, so as surfers, and there's a lot of corporate crew surfers in the corporate world in Sydney who join in. Newcastle, a few people from Newcastle, Wollongong today, and they come in and get involved in the day and have a wonderful day out of the office.
Wow, what an amazing thing. And it's an amazing thing to feel like surfing has actually made improvements, because I guess we know around the world there's the old haphazard way of almost like surf ghettos starting up around the place. I mean, you would have seen a lot of that happening everywhere. Like people talk about Nias being a bit like that and stuff like that. It's really good. Have you seen any other models of surfing going into new places, but them trying to rethink it and doing it in a more ethical way that helps the locals?
It's in Central America. Yeah, there's places that are sort of built for health and wellness surfing kind of resorts that bring in the locals and educate the locals in certain practices, get them employed within the structure of the business, and then support families outside that. I know that happens there. Central America's a real good surfing spot. You know, places like Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. El Salvador. Places like this are good, you know, good surfing spots that have this sort of going on. Some parts of Asia Pacific, say, you know, in Samoa and islands like that.
So, ethics have been important to you, it seems, through the years, which is epic. Actually, my heritage is coloured South African from Cape Town, but I haven't ever been there. But am I right in saying that you boycotted a couple of comps because of apartheid?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I made a stand against apartheid in 1985 after I won my second world title. I found it a great opportunity to, as a world champion at that time, it was a real time. It was a time thing. Like, it was, you know, every time I went to South Africa and I saw what was going on there, the less I could get behind that. So, in myself, and it was and being seen as a world champion, Australian world champion, supporting it.
Yeah.
The obligation to step up was profound. So that also, you know, like a lot of stuff comes along with, you know, the feeling of being up there in front of everyone as a world champion at that time, particularly, and actually the fact that I look back and I did that at 24 years old. I go, wow, that's. You know, today I still go, you're like, that's fantastic. You know, I really feel that it came from a real natural place within me too. It wasn't to tell someone they're wrong. It wasn't to tell that this is just simply, I just don't support it. I can't support apartheid. And if I can make someone just think that maybe it's not a good idea, just one person, then I've done my job. And that kind of how it sort of started to pop.
That's absolutely amazing, and that was a huge sacrifice at the time, I'm sure. Did you win that year?
No, I ended up coming second to Tom Carroll. Yeah.
Did he do South Africa?
He actually didn't do South Africa too. Okay. He followed suit, so it was kind of cool. We showed that we didn't need it to do it. Right. Tom Carroll was a real tough one to beat. I actually had the reason I actually fell away that year was because I hurt my ankle after the first two events. I won the first two events after making my decision on South Africa against apartheid, and then going into the next year, I won the first two events of the year, and I felt like I was on fire. I felt so on point, and I came home and I injured my ankle. And I tell you, when you injure your ankle in surfing, it's like it's the hinge to your magic carpet. So, you know, if that hinge isn't just oiled up and I got a lot of range in my ankle, and it just sucked the confidence out of me. It took me 6 months to get back to form. So it was a brutal timing, but it gave me time and space to sort of see how I was in regard to my decision in South Africa too, and solidify it. It was quite unstable, the response that I got from it. Really? There was some really positive stuff, and I wasn't ready for the other stuff. So being 24, I was pretty naive in that area. You know, definitely, you know, today it would have been a totally different thing for me. But being young and, you know, world champion guy, and, you know, like, the natural force where it came from was always there and always been there. But me on the outside, I'm like, whoa, you know,
I often find that, and I have found that over the years when I've taken ethical stands on things, and I'm totally up for it and totally mean it, and I'm really proud of those things too. But I'm never ready for the flack because you don't even choose those things. It's like you find yourself in the situation, then you make an ethical choice, and then when you get the flack, it can be really hard.
Yeah, it's a storm, like it's a storm of sorts. So now I realise I can sort of sit in a storm. I can sit in the middle of the storm and take the kind of the sand blast a bit today, whereas back then I wasn't ready for that. So I kind of got brushed around by the storm a bit, and before I could sort of get my feet back on the ground. And I think that time that ankle injury was kind of the universe going, okay, well, I'm just going to slap you down a little, just put you down on the ground just for a bit, just to figure this out and make sure you're right with this. And so that's what helped me. And that was the gift in the injury. There's always a gift in the injury. There's always a gift.
So I noticed that, I notice in the way that you're speaking there, a tendency, I guess. Do you use your way of belief system or way of looking at life sometimes to see, okay, when something negative hits you, like, why did this happen, and sort of try and reverse engineer a positive out of it?
I like that reverse engineer stuff. Look, usually if I'm in the pain, I don't see it. If I'm in the anger and the reaction to it, I don't see it. And it usually takes a bit of time to settle that down, maybe sometimes longer than others, but life is at times doesn't seem fair, and you're going to get hit. We're all going to get hit at some point, and so I think at some level, having good support, having a good crew that you're connected to, and that's when the connections really help. Good connected with really good people, with love, that sort of that really all-powerful force can help us sort of ground down and see it for what it really is, the situation, and definitely turn it, make it turn, like it's a turning kind of, you don't really and quite often you kind of make a choice, I guess, but it's more of a turning of
flipping a little.
Yeah, you kind of turn it. Oh, okay. Well, let's get a perspective on this that may be a little different than you kind of victim state, or or am I seeing the reality of the situation?
Because I find that it's good to sort of try and flip situations and like you get a shit situation happen, but I often try and flip it so that my way of looking at that serves me in my life, and then somebody will come and tell you, you're just deluding yourself, you're just trying to be positive thinking, and that's always somebody who's depressed as fuck. And who
generally would like to see you not in a good space, so you're kind of scared. Just be wary of those people, eh? I think and I think it's but that's kind of strengthening up the boundaries for yourself so you can see that.
I heard a thing said, and I was just quoting it at my book thing that I did yesterday, but it was like, you are the summary of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So you've got to really have a look around, because you adopt those patterns, whether it is looking at things positively or negatively.
That makes sense, and that makes a lot of sense. But I'm with you on that.
So one of those key things I remember from reading your book years ago was, would I be right in saying this, that because I didn't look this up on Wikipedia yesterday or anything, but you would have won a third world title if it wasn't for one paddle stroke? Is that right?
Pretty much. It was a technicality for what they call an interference call against me in a pipeline, 1988. And I was pretty, I wouldn't say I had a handle on my nervous system at that point. I was pretty sort of highly strung. I was looking at every opportunity at that moment, and maybe too much. I didn't have a step back. Yeah, the boys. I didn't have a ability to step back. I was just too hard on myself at that point. But I was 2 heats away actually from a world title. So all I needed to do is get through that heat and another one.
Were you winning in that heat at the time?
Yeah, I was ahead, and this guy was just going hell for leather, and it was a man-on-man heat, and there was the first man-on-man contest at Pipeline ever, so it was very odd just to be out there with one other person, but he was a vicious competitor. He was actually on a death wish. He was just going to go for anything anyway, but he saw the opportunity to any moment to sort of get me on an interference, and I wasn't clued into that. I was just looking for what I wanted, and I didn't actually see how he was responding to the situation. So Todd Holland, who was out there with me competing against me, and he saw the opportunity on this technicality. It was a ruling that they brought in so the judges didn't have to, they could just call it interference even if you were paddling. If you didn't have priority, the other surfer held priority, and you paddled for a line of swell from one end of the beach to the other, that they could call an interference on you. So it was a technicality. So my hands, all I had to do was just look at the wave, and that was it. Didn't have to leave the rail, didn't have to take off. So he actually paddled in. I had a look at this wave. It was like a crazy one, but I thought, I don't want to miss something that's good. And he actually saw me go for it behind me and outside me, and he just took it no matter what. Just took off and got smashed. Yeah. So so he went. And then I got called interference. I still won on one judge's sheet with 2 waves against 3 waves. So at the end of the heat, so I was so far ahead of him at the time. I didn't need to do that. I could have just kicked back and relaxed, and just allowed him to be that gung-ho crazy guy that he was at that time.
And did you replay that over and over in all those details a lot in subsequent days, months, years?
In a way, I kind of buried it. I went for that burying act. It doesn't really work. But I thought I'd let it out. I kind of came in from I was so angry. I came in and they were super angry, so frustrated. My team were super frustrated in me. I was like really bummed. I went out, got in my rent-a-car and beat the shit out of the steering wheel for as long as I could until my knuckles were all bloody. I was like I was really angry. And I don't do anger very well. I'm not like a really angry person, and I never have had that in my life. I never had that example from my father. I never had that. He's only angry when we needed it, I always saw that. But but that was a kind of anger that I'd never seen in myself, and that was pretty scary. So I just shoved it down for a while, and I didn't really see myself for what I really was for a while.
Right.
It took me a while, but in that process, I actually buried any kind of idea of getting back on the tour and going for another world title. I just buried it. I just went, no, I'm not going to put that kind of energy into a system that literally only that night, 6 hours later, when they had the annual general meeting of the ASP, abolished that rule.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and today you wouldn't see anything like that because it just doesn't go with, and it was just draconian, but it was what it was, and that Pipeline has been such an amazing place for me. It's been that, and it's been that. It's been every kind of end of the spectrum for me, that break, and it's shown me and taught me all these incredible lessons and taken me to places I just couldn't do on my own. So I recognise that break as being a kind of place where I let my ashes to be spread. That sort of place.
Yeah. Definitely, and it's the stuff of legend, your vibe at pipe and your understanding of pipe and how you surf it. And it must have been amazing to do that masters thing and have that sort and feel vindicated when you surf that in the way that you did.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. That was really about me kind of giving everything that I got from that to charity and just going out and having a surf, and all of a sudden this sort of old friend kind of allowed me to kind of get the exact ways that I needed to express myself.
Were you back on a replica board or older equipment that you used to ride in that era that you were winning pipe all the time?
Yeah, so when they asked me if I'd like to do that heat, I thought, it'd be really cool to get that old board, get all the dims off it and try to make the file again. And I did that with Pat Rawson, who was my shaper back in the 80s and the 90s there. Still is. And Pat and I, and actually Simon Anderson, helped me work on the file as well and get specific dimensions right, and basically rebuilt that board. And I made it a little bit thicker because back then I was riding so thin and narrow. It just didn't mould into how I was today. So I just sort of pumped it up a little bit, made it a little bit easier for myself out there, and the board just went beautifully. Yeah, I hadn't ridden the board before the heat, so I was like going, wow. And it did everything I could love to do.
And the way you rode on like that's longer equipment that would be used for pipe now, or is it? Because you can fill me in on that. Is it a different line that you took?
Yeah, so those boards are probably about mine's 7/8. That board that I was riding today, they'd be riding 6/10s maybe on that sort of like secondary pipe, maybe 7/0. These guys are riding real short boards, dropping out from underneath the wave. They're turning in it like they're just playing with pipe now, like it's a little wave, which I always wanted to do. Yeah. So, but I came from this school of you've got to have a longer board, you've got to have this big long gun. They're quite beautiful boards, they're sleek like spears, and but to ride them, demand a different line be taken on the wave. But I used to definitely try to take them as late as I could, get out underneath it, which those guys are doing regularly today. Like, it's nothing for these guys today. So they are really taking it to the next level. And riding short equipment, it's tricky to surf short equipment out there. I could paddle into them a bit further out. I had a lot more confidence in my equipment. I don't think I could be confident riding a 6.6 or 6.10 out there at that size, No.
But with that length, you were still able to do the snap.
Yeah, I could, because I used to train on the longer boards. I used to go out and the 8-foot board was the big brother to that board, and just surf that for like 2 weeks in all kind of conditions. So I knew that I'd be ready for my 7.4s and 7.8s and 7.0s if I was riding and training on something bigger, longer line. I could come back and loosen up. So that's how I used to play it. Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, so people check out the snap. All the surfers will know what we're talking about. And when did you do that? Was that crazy vertical turn you did in the barrel? And that was in a final, wasn't it?
Actually, it was a preliminary round the day before.
Yeah.
And that was in 1991. Yeah, right. So yeah, December 91, and it's the Pipe Masters. December 91. It used to be sponsored by this Japanese, I think it was a department store chain called Marui, and they used to give out these amazing samurai helmets when you won that event, and that was so cool. I got to hang it out at home. It's like this coolest, yeah.
That's cool. So I mean, I can imagine it was like party town. That was the I mean, to me, I see it as that era was the height of Coke and all that kind of carry on. So you sort of documented a lot about that era. Like, how was it in those days?
Well, it's kind of like, it was party town, all right. Like, it was, we didn't have social media. We didn't have any of that stuff. Sort of, it was pretty free flowing. Whatever was going on, and it was hardcore too. There was some things going on that we didn't really need to be involved in, as athletes particularly. But it was just there. Stuff was flowing, and it was fun until it wasn't fun. As that stuff is. It's kind of cool, but it's fun for a bit, and then and the reality of it, it's quite different. But and it can get a grip on us. It's like, because I like the adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so anything that matched the adrenaline, I just lock onto it, and I love that stuff. Particularly anything that kind of boosted my ego, like cocaine's definitely the ego drug. It's like you can almost not have to do anything, and you're thinking you're really good. Well, you can. Yeah. It's like, I am killing it. And definitely everything I'm saying right now is the best thing that's ever been said. So it can happen that way. So for all of us, and at that time it was free flowing. There was a lot of action going on. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't change any of that stuff for anything. It was a huge adventure.
So you got to the stage like after a while, and probably after pro days and whatever, and then getting into. Did you get into ice for a while there, and that got really heavy? How did you? Because people get, the way I see it, I mean, I hate ice. Like, that epidemic has swept, and especially the youth. But it must be just so hard to get off.
Well, it's so sad that it's like this for us humans. Our human experience is such that if we feel like we're trapped in some sort of way, if we feel like if we're really, really challenged in life, and that we're dealt a hard blow, and then someone sort of validates that with something that makes us feel better about ourselves.
You mean a substance?
Yeah, a substance of anything. Well, it could be alcohol, it could be anything. It's something that matches that part of us that kind of wants more, which we all have. There's no one skips that one. No. It's a part of the human experience, right? So, sugar, take sugar for once. That's a tricky one, but the ice, the crystal methamphetamine is. I just love it. It's such a good drug. Like, it's like, it's like,
I recommend it.
Yeah. It's like, but it's that good. I can't. It's not good for me to match that up, and it's not good for us to treat our system in such. It can make us do some of the weirdest shit you'd never think of the stuff. Like, really. Where it's going to take you if you continue using it. It's like it's going to actually the addict inside us. It's not the drug. It's the entity, the humanness inside us that gets skewed and towards just destruction. And so we will destroy relationships. We will destroy our surroundings. We'll degrade our health. We'll just give everything completely and utterly over to the drug. And abandon everything that's good to us or for us and around us that loves us, and ignore it for the drug or whatever it might be. It could be something else. But and when we kick our addict off with such a thing, an entity such as a drug or an behaviour or an activity, anything. Man, we're opening a can of worms for ourselves and others, and there's a ripple effect that's so damaging. But the reverse can happen if you turn around and ask for help, because what it does is the addict goes off on its own and on its own mission of self-destruction, and it's always a downward hill. You might have little illusions that but it's always an illusion. You might be going uphill. You're going down.
Yeah.
You're just going to go down. It's going to get ugly if you continue. So the coolest thing is, as soon as you just open, if you're in a really bad spot and you just reach out, and it makes no sense at all for help, that's another turning I'm talking about. It's going to turn. We turn and ask for help. Let's move in a different direction. So all of a sudden, all this help comes. Like, it's just crazy. It's so cool. Like, just make that move, and there's so much help for us.
Right.
I was flabbergasted, and how much actually support there is once we tap into that power. That's the only power that I could get before I could get the power, start building that strength up inside me, because I can't do it on my own.
Right, so that was the turning point. It was asking for help, and then that...
Yeah. And usually you got to, for us, willful, competitive, motherfuckers who just, I'm going to do this, no worry, I got it. That willfulness, it's so powerful that it just takes us down, and until that gets broken and snapped and cracked, the crack forms, Glenn Cohen talks about the crack, that forms and it lets the light in.
Right, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's this beautiful song, and he's talking about everyone has the crack, the cracks. You got to let the light into the crack, and the cracks that form and the imperfections, and so, and then the help, then you start getting this incredible support. But we definitely have to be in the fetal position. Yeah. I needed to be in the fetal position, crying mummy with my sucking my thumb or whatever it was in the nude. I don't know. I was like, things weren't too good. I can laugh about it now, thankfully.
Yeah, that's lucky. It's just such a shame that we always have to hit bloody rock bottom before that crack forms. Speaking of the fetal position, I love asking this question. So you, after competitive surfing, then you thought, okay, now I have to start chasing gigantic waves and do massive toe-ins to 50-foot death slabs. So can you just share for us punters a scary kind of situation where you thought, or if not, if it never happened, wow, this is pretty heavy, I think maybe mummy. Mummy.
Well, I did a series of shows and a movie with Ross Clark-Jones called Storm Surfers. And I think some of the moments I had with Ross doing that show were kind of pretty all-time. Like, it's
looked like
it was all-time, It's only with Ross kind of thing. God bless him. He's such a good guy. Like, we have such a good, we've had such good times together. But we kind of got that same kind of energy when it clicks on, and we kind of get understanding without words. You get that sort of feeling with someone. You probably have it in music. You're on stage and you've got a musician going. You kind of don't need to do anything. It moves along, and you kind of get frustrated from time to time if that's not working right, and that's kind of just my shit, whatever. But but it moves. There's an energy, the chemistry. It kind of pumps it all along and pumps up, and that's what happened with Ross and I. But it used to get us in the most crazy situations. Like, we were way out off Western Australian coastline. Like, we were like. Thankfully, I had a lot of stuff around us, but we were way out there, 70 nautical miles off the Western Australian coastline of this reef we'd never been out to. We were with these mad crayfish, and his name was Scales, and Scales have been. We started at 2 a.m. start at Geraldton, headed out from there west out towards this reef on this big swell and ugly wind, and he was already smoking joints and drinking cans, like the cycle's on, And we were out of this heavy sea, and we got out there and we were shooting 3D, and we were shooting with heli, we're shooting all kinds of different stuff. We got 2 big boats, but nothing kind of prepares you like for what happens when you get hit. Like sometimes when you come off on a big wave, you don't. This is why we train for empty lung hold downs. Is that you lose all the air when you hit the water, and this is what happened for me. I lost my air as I was halfway down the face, hit the water, lost all my air, and I couldn't get a breath. I got lifted up by the wave and then thrown out by the wave. So it's got this weightless kind of spin with no air, and then shoved down, and then rolled on for, I don't know how long it was, but it was scary. I didn't think, mate, I actually took a breath before I got up in the whitewater because I couldn't take it any longer. But I've been down for way too long. And I had we got these really cool inflatable vests now that give you a bit of confidence to kind of be able to come up. But we actually had makeshift ones we kind of made ourselves, or we got someone to kind of stitch together, and it blew out on the wipeout. So I couldn't find the rip cord. So I had to kind of spent too much time trying to find this rip cord, and I only had seconds. And I spent too much time using my nerve on that. I guess it's kind of
up on that, or thinking to yourself, I'll be able to get up because it felt deep. Because I opened my eyes, and it was dark. You know when it's dark underneath the ocean, you know you're deep. So you kind of open up, it's dark. I'm like, can't see light right now. So I was underneath a lot of white water, getting rolled, and we're blacked out. And so I'm like, okay, which way's up, down? And I'm getting rolled, and I couldn't tell. I just had to let go and try to find this thing. I had enough nerve to do that, but I kind of ran out on that, so, and then I had to kind of make my way no matter what to some sort of light, which I could just start to see, and then you start seeing the threads of light through the whitewater, and then you kind of start going towards them. And I started going towards them, and it almost felt like I had drag on me now, this thing, I'm like getting up, trying to get up, and I felt like forever, and I'm going, I may not make it, and but I'll have to keep going. I've got to keep pushing, and I got to near what felt like near the surface, and I took a little breath of the whitewater, and then I popped up, like literally did that, and then I came to the surface. So I was already moving upwards towards the surface with the buoyancy of my wetsuit and the vest. So I got to the surface, and I was just coughing and carrying on, and thankfully there was no other waves, and Ross was able to pluck me out. That was sort of the most recent, really tough one. And did you think you were done for?
Yeah, got that feeling. Well, maybe I'm going to go here. I don't know. I hope they can get you there. I had a bunch of people around that would have pulled me. But then you only got a few moments to deal with, with resuscitation and stuff. So resuscitation is super important at that point, and getting to safety and getting the air back in there. Getting any sort of circulation that might be compromised. But I was felt lucky that I came up that time.
And obviously you've gone in heavy on the breath stuff, like you can hold your breath for a very long time. It's not breath holding that you do though with breath training, is it? It's preparing for a non-breath hold kind of thing.
It's getting CO2 tolerant, so it's so that's what we work towards. So the body works under stress better, and actually the nervous system gets toned by that work. Similar to when we do meditation, but this is a different style. It's actually working with the breath. We're tapping into this crazy chemical makeup in our body that's already sitting there. It's pretty phenomenal, actually, what we can tap into just with our breath.
Absolutely.
So once we kind of start to work with the breath in that way, it gives us a confidence.
Have you got wacky with the breath? Have you got shamanic with the breath?
Oh, a couple of moments where I definitely felt like I was getting lifted out of my body, and looking back. Oh, and that was after heavy breath work, really heavy breath work, like the Wim Hof stuff.
People on this podcast are no stranger. I froth on the Hof every time. I love doing Wim Hof breathing, and I like trippy stuff too. So I like I feel like your body gives you a little reward. Like last night, I did a whole lot of Wim Hof stuff in the hotel room, and some push-ups, and then some more Hof, and put on different YouTube clips on my phone and just listen to them and I started to get some really good purple lights going.
Cool, there you go. There you're getting the natural stuff come in. It's you. It's ash. Yeah. It's ash, sort of popping.
High on your own supply. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
You're doing great, man.
Yeah. It's great.
So you got some retreats going on. You're going to be doing one in June, which I would love to get to if I can. What's going on with that thing?
So I'm getting together with Ulluahtu Surf Villas, and I've got my partner Mary who's helping me. She's the backbone of stuff, she's awesome, and all the crew at Surf Villas. We've got Philly. She's a beautiful yoga teacher. I mean, just an amazing human. She really delivers a beautiful class. It's an extraordinary the way she delivers her classes and actually explains with beautiful the Vedic knowledge. It's the Vedas. She pulls out of the Vedas and works with all this beautiful knowledge and delivers the class in such a seamless fashion. And sort of takes us all on a journey during the class within ourselves, which is like I've never felt with a yoga teacher before. So I'm really happy to have Philly on board. We've got my daughter Jenna Carroll. She's really finely tuning her own healing strengths through naturopathy. So and her bringing her insights along. So helping with nutrition and naturopathy. Also, I'll be taking everyone through the Vedic meditation technique. So, and if you want, I can give you your mantra there and take you, and get you in on a good routine on the practice twice a day throughout the 6 days. So, and that's the aim, to actually get people in on the practice of meditation. I think meditation is a real need of the time. It's it seems to be becoming a lot more popular, but it's something that, for me personally, I know it's really helped me a lot. In the last 13 years of practice, it's given me, it's particularly this kind of practice, twice a day, 20 minutes twice a day, and using the mantra. Mantra is man, is mind, tra car, mind car. So we're hopping inside the vehicle that takes us to transcend the mind. And the mind's, full of thoughts, right? And and everything starts with a thought. Look at these earth bottles, right? These started with a thought, one thought.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thought, but it had to start with one thought, and then it starts multiplying on itself. So we've got an urgent, I think, responsibility to that. To understand that first thought that comes to our head, just to don't make it big, just allow it to come and go, but when we act on a thought, make sure that thought is going to be something that's going to serve you and others. So this is what the meditation is about. Look, no one's perfect. We're not going for perfection here. It's like just making progress towards making it a preference to give our system this incredible body, this thing that we're kind of hanging out with. It's ours to hang out. It's going to have the last say, it's going to have the last say, right? So getting the mind, the body, and the nervous system in between, just to sort of move together in a really nice, uniform movement. So it's not fighting itself. Yeah. But that's the key with the meditation. Tapping into your natural source too. I think that's within us, and going in for inner referral. So we're not really, looking inward. Going for consciousness. Wow. All the time. Just go for consciousness. So that's what we do with the practice. That's all it is, really.
Wow, that is so cool, because I don't know if you know, but like in this podcast, that's what I've been, everybody has been asked about meditation and what they do, and also the breath work and stuff. And I didn't know you were so deep into that. That's very, very cool. Yeah.
Well, see, things like this pull people together, right? Yeah. So it's just no surprise to me that we're here today talking. So it's so cool. And by the way, thanks for coming on board with this awesome product. That's we're trying to address the plastic issue.
Earth bottles, y'all.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool what all the thing, anything that there's so much that can be done these days to help fix the planet and redress the problems that have been created. And to some extent it's massive corporations. We could go on a side thing about that, but it's business that got us into this. But it's kind of like cool business that can get us out of this to some extent.
Yeah, and I think change it has to happen. And it's funny how the universe, I love when it's explained to me, universe, one verse song, one song. The one song that's being played out and vibrating between every single living thing on the planet right now. Like that fly that went in my mouth that wanted to join in. It's going to have strong feedback. It's already having profound feedback. We're not quite sure about it yet. We have a lot of power to act to create better business. We've got a lot of power. We can actually take action to steer it. It is a big ship. Like, you ever try to steer one of those 1,000-foot tankers? It's like we're on like a 50,000 mile tanker. We need to, start turning this baby right now and taking action. Otherwise, it's going to be like, it'll be a tap on the shoulder one moment. And it happens to us in little ways in our body. You got something wrong, Tom. Like you got a sore knee, Tom. Tap. Then, the knee's really hurt. No, it's not. I couldn't do it. Yeah. Bang, bang. Then it's going to be a slap in the head. Then it's going to be a baseball bat over the head, until you're like again, you're on the ground. And then the body's going, you have to do something about this, Tom. So, and that's the way nature is. We are nature, and that's what nature's going to do. Taking action like this that you've done with earth bottles, and just small actions on a daily basis, you're reducing our plastic usage on an individual basis, and actually educating the next person about it. Just say, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we can do. Just try to peg this one back. It is a silent suffocator, because I was just in Amami Island in Japan, which is just above Okinawa. It's got Taiwan, it's got China, it's got Korea, it's got Japan all around it. It's got Indonesia. All heavy plastic users unloading the rivers and the systems, trying to deal with all this plastic all out there in the Pacific Ocean, just revolving around. The microplastics on the beach that I saw were just really sad. It's very sad, and it's really disheartening, but humans, we're pretty good at coming up with good stuff. I think, and I hope we can start to work towards, because we got a big one coming to us. That's all I know. Yeah.
And we just can't. The hopelessness and the paralysis is no good. We just need to get into it, enjoy. Have a good time while we do it, and enjoy being part of the solution and making a solution.
Yeah, perfect, Ash. Yeah, let's be part of the solution. Yeah.
So, in closing, is there any advice? I mean, I think a lot of my stuff, including my book, was about this too. I said at the start of it that I was hoping for anybody stuck in a rut that it would serve as the philosophical spatula to get you unstuck. And then somebody suggested at gigs I have a merch item that are philosophical spatulas. Do you have any of those that you think people could use, or to make a change, or anything you would suggest, something you found in your life that just is a key to happiness or joy or anything like that?
I think just being kind to yourself first. I think look at the areas where you're not so kind to yourself, and just sort of make small changes where you can, big if you can, but really sort of towards being kind to ourselves and towards self. We start to sort of put that out there to others, so it's just a start of something a lot bigger, and do that slowly but methodically if you can. Don't beat up on yourself. Be very kind to yourself, and I think a great book to read, I think that's kind of been a real strong one for me, and I pick it up from time to time and just read bits of it, and it always repeats itself. It doesn't, but I somehow always take on something different every time I read something, even if it's the same thing. And that's Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. We got to move toward. Well, you don't have to. It's nice to move toward that stuff. And he's got a book called Practicing the Power of Now, which is a wonderful little book that you can sort of carry around. It's not as chunky, but that also Practicing the Power of Now is a cracker. Yeah. My
last album was called Now, and it featured a now clock on the front. It was just like now. Yeah. Wow, I love Eckhart. He's the man.
Yeah, isn't he? He has the way he talks. He's a classic. He's a classic. And he's just so slow. You go, what's he gonna say?
Yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, brother. What a great podcast. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. My pleasure, Ash. Really lovely to meet you.
Cheers, you too.
Thanks for your support. Yeah.
It's an honour.
Yeah.